As a small business owner, you're often doing everything yourself, but it doesn't mean you have to do it alone. As your business grows and as life happens, it is critical for your company and frankly, your sanity, that you develop a support network that you can rely on. We are going to explore that in depth in today's show. Today, we'll hear from the experts like Natalie Madera Cofield, Executive Director of Walker's Legacy, which is focused on multicultural women business owners. And we'll talk to Zeke Freeman, founder of Be Raw, a honey business, who's going to give us some sweet tips on building a support network, part of our small business video series. Hi everyone, I'm JJ Ramberg. Thanks so much for being here. We're going to get to our guest expert in a second, but first, the demands on a small business owner's time and energy can be brutal. We all know this. But that's where a little help from friends can be incredibly important. Just take a look.
We aim to be the premier one-stop shopping source for North America's wedding and event professionals.
We employ people that are trying to transition out of homelessness to engrave inspirational words on keys and jewelry and apparel.
My dream was to just work less. I don't know why I thought that. I found that everyone seems to have to wear a lot of hats.
We have so many different hats, it's hard to keep track of.
You have to have a lot of heart and a lot of determination to keep going and make it successful. It's not a 9-to-5 job. You don't get the weekends off.
We've given up evenings, weekends. There's been a lot of late nights.
You are all in, and there is no separation between choosing what you do and don't do. It's all in.
If you want to succeed, you have to do it. Because if you're not going to work that hard, your competition will, and you're toast.
We need support around us. You need community around you. And so really finding that balance in the partnership.
So important for us to create that environment where everyone feels like they're a part of it.
I think in any industry, in anything you're doing, you need balance, and you need to have a sounding board and somebody who you can share ideas with, think tank with, to really develop things together.
We're so happy to have joining us now Natalie Madera Cofield, who is the founder of Walker's Legacy, an organization that inspires, empowers, and equips enterprising women. Good for you. You founded this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you are helping women all across the country create their businesses and run their businesses.
Yeah, so we run a series of boot camps. We host summits, conferences, and every year we honor about 200 multicultural women in business across the nation. It's been a phenomenal journey.
That is amazing. Well, I'm so happy to talk to you. And the thing that you do so well, that is so important in business, is create a network, because running a business is really, really hard. And so how important do you think a support group is, or a network, or mentors?
I think having a support network and mentorship is critical to anyone, regardless of whether they're an entrepreneur or a professional. I think it's important for us to be able to have someone that we can go to and ask questions about how to succeed, share some of the challenges that we've had, and get their real insights. And I find all too often that women are lacking those types of opportunities to connect, engage, and to become equipped with the tools that they need to move up in their careers as well as in entrepreneurial endeavors.
Why? Why are we lacking these networks?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think one, women have not been in positions to be able to have access to senior leaders like we should. And I think that we're breaking the glass barriers to do that right now. I also feel that women haven't seen themselves reflected in those spaces. And sometimes mentorship can come from a conversation, or it can come from reading an article or a content or webinar where you see someone and say, I want to do something similar to him or her. And then the last is, I think that there has always been, at times, a challenge with women to seek mentorship from men. And in fact, there was a statistic that talked about the fact that 24% of women felt as though they were not able to go to men to receive the type of mentorship and advice that they were interested in for a multitude of reasons, including at times men may feel uncomfortable with a male-female mentorship relationship.
How do you create this network? There are definitely places like Walker's Legacy, and there are formal organizations like Entrepreneurs Organization. But if you are in a small town someplace and you don't have one of these organizations, there aren't a lot of people like you, how do you create a network?
So it's funny because I have people who've been in my life now who've invested in me, who've invested in my businesses, who I actually met on Twitter. So I think right now what we have, again, is the power of technology, the power of this universe that brings everyone together, regardless of where they are in the world, and reaching out to people, following people, getting that content again that you're interested in, and then connecting with them in some way, shape, or form is really important. And you never know what a tweet will lead to. You never know what connecting with someone on LinkedIn could do for your career. So I think part of it is about showing up in whatever space is offered to you. So it could be showing up to in-person events and conferences and summits. And sometimes I hear people say that those aren't important, and I just completely disagree. So many times we're connecting offline and people still want to have the opportunity to shake your hand. But if you can't get to an event, there's still opportunity for you to be able to connect with people in a digital space. And I think people need to start there as well.
And even if you meet one person at an event like that, who you connect with, who you can call upon, or they can call upon you in the future, it's worth it.
Absolutely. And again, I think if people focus themselves and understand that when you're seeking a mentor, right, it could be anyone. Right. And so sometimes I think when we go to these events, we're always looking for the most senior person, the person who's on stage. And yes, that person is important, but it could also be that person who's sitting right next to you that may be able to touch, move, inspire, or help you with something that you're doing. And if you're so focused here that you're not focusing here, some of the most significant contributions to my career, my person, and my business have come from people who otherwise would not be considered mentor worthy, if that makes sense. They're the career person in this role, and they've grown in their career, and along the growth path of their career, they've been able to help me. And if I was only focused on the most senior person in the room, I would have completely missed opportunities with them.
When you have created this network and you've made friends with people and you like them, they like you, how do you get the most out of it?
I think the way that you get the most out of anything in life is by being genuine and sincere. I think when you look at relationships as strictly transactional, I think people feel that. And for me, what has been one of the keys to my success is really making sure that I'm investing in other people the way that I desire for them to invest in me. As I'm asking for assistance, I close calls by saying, is there anything we can do to be supportive of you? I also like to make sure that when people spend time mentoring me or coaching me or connecting with me, that I'm actually doing something that they said, right? So if I'm going to give you an hour of my time and we completely waste it because I never take you up on any of the things that you presented to me, then I feel like maybe I should be spending my time with someone else. And so that's right. So it's following up on yourself. It's following up on what you have received. And you don't have to take everyone's complete advice, right? But 50% or 25, whatever the percentage is, something you should be doing so that when you go back to them, you can say, hey, thank you so much for giving me that advice on X. Here's what I've done as a result of that. Because people like to feel like they're helping people, but they also like to feel like they're helping people who want to help themselves. And to me, that goes back to feeling like they're having a genuine relationship. And I've seen my relationships with mentors change where through the dynamic, we become friends. And in some respect, I mentor them. Right. Sure. And then I've seen people that I've mentored go on to sell their companies to Amazon. And I'm like, oh my God, you were my mentee and my baby sister like 2 years ago.
You know, it's funny when you think about mentors. I had to, a few years ago for a previous job, write an essay for LinkedIn on who my mentor was, my best mentor. And I literally started sweating and breaking out in hives when I was given this assignment because I felt so terrible. As I thought back, I didn't have a mentor, right? I didn't have that person who kind of discovered me when I was a senior in college and shepherded me through my career. And I didn't want to admit this in this article. And then I realized, actually, I've had a ton of mentors and a ton of people who have helped me, but they've helped me in specific times and in specific areas. And I feel like it's important to reframe mentorship.
I agree with that as well. And in fact, I share a story similar to you with that. That's actually how I created Walker's Legacy. One day I came home from a business meeting and I had been propositioned the entire time. And I was in tears and I asked one of my friends, well, actually he asked me, Natalie, who's your female mentor who can help you navigate through experiences like this? And I didn't have one. So I started reaching out to women that I wanted to be like, and subject line would say, I want to be like you when I grow up. Needless to say, I never heard back from any of them. So I started reading biographies and wiki pages of women that I aspired to be like. And that's when I really started to understand that mentorship can happen in person as well as online, because I was essentially self-mentoring myself. But I agree with you that, there are times and spaces in our career, in our life, in our entrepreneurial journey where someone who has come before you, or even I have horizontal mentors, people who are my peers who inspire me, and I can go to them for advice. I have mentors who are younger than me. And I think when we think of mentorship, we need to change the way that we frame that in our minds, not just for spaces in our career journey, but also in who has the ability to mentor us. As I was reaching out to those women and they didn't respond, I realized that building a platform and an opportunity for me to seek the mentorship that I was looking for, while other women could also seek and receive that same information. Sometimes people are just really busy, and until they have a relationship with you, an hour with you could be an hour spent with their family or their own business. And so I wanted to maximize both of those opportunities. And we started with 30 women in a room, and now we have a network of more than 60,000 women in 10 cities across the country.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for all that you do. It's very needed.
Absolutely.
And great strides have been made in this field, but there's a lot more that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
So thank you. It was so good meeting you.
Nice to meet you too, JJ. Thank you.
Up next, business owner Zeke Freeman from Be Raw with some informed and practical advice. First, some tips from entrepreneurs from across the country. Back in a moment. Okay, I'm out of the studio now. And that's because, as I said earlier, when you are a small business owner, you have to do pretty much everything. And I am a small business owner, and I do a lot of work right here in this room. And yes, I am alone, which is why the idea of a support network is so important to me, because I could not grow my business without the support I get outside of this room. But don't just take it from me. Let's go back to the studio where we talk to Zeke Freeman, the owner of Be Raw, a honey-based business. He'll tell us how his support network has helped keep him out of some sticky situations. Check it out.
At Be Raw, we partner with small family apiaries around the country who produce what we call single floral source honeys. That means they take their bees and they place them in a wild raspberry patch or an orange grove or a buckwheat field, and the bees collect the nectar from that specific floral source, and it changes everything: the color, the texture, the flavor. We put that product in a bottle, and we sell to high-end retailers and e-commerce consumers. As an entrepreneur, you're constantly solving problems. That's all you do is kind of move from one piece of information that you don't have to the next and gather that information, and you start building your business from it. So having a network that you can rely on to answer those questions was a really important thing for me to build. I don't like asking for help. I kind of shudder at the thought of asking for help. It's very difficult for me. But what I found was really important was going to, the couple of people who I trust and I'm really comfortable with, talking to them, looking for introductions to kind of the next person who might be helpful for me. I think the best advice that I could give for entrepreneurs looking for support is talk to as many people as possible. People actually like to be asked what their opinion is. And even though sometimes it's scary to ask for help, talk to as many people as possible. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, start there. And over time, you'll build the confidence to, ask people who you don't know for help, and it'll come.
I really enjoyed today's conversations, and I hope you got a lot out of them as well. I'm JJ Ramberg. Thanks so much for watching. Discover more videos and resources for small businesses at paypal.com/SMBmonk.